Today on the workbench I have a Bachmann Spectrum 210 Russian decapod in the Western Maryland Fireball scheme, and today we're going to put in a Tsunami Soundtraxx Tsunami decoder. There's the model number for that and the decoder, and with that we're going to put in this current keeper. And then we'll have a small speaker in this. I'm not using a Soundtraxx speaker in this one. I'm using an ESU speaker. It's one of the little 11 by 15 sugar cube speakers. And you're probably saying, well, why are you using that in this tender? And I've done one of these before. And I had a 28mm speaker and I couldn't get it to fit without some modification, maybe major modification, and I didn't want to do that. So the 11 by 15, I don't know if you can see that number. Let me get that out of the way. There's the number for the speaker. It fits really well underneath this co-load right here. There's one screw in it, and so we do have to do a little bit of modification, but nothing big. So let's get this thing apart. And these are really simple to install. I don't have to do anything with the locomotive, so we'll get that out of the way. I'm not going to change the lighting out in this. On the steam locomotives, I like the incandescent bulbs on it. I think it gives a better look. So let's go ahead and get started and get this apart. Let's see now. Looks like we've got a screw underneath there. Just one screw holding this on the bottom. Let me get that out. So there's just one screw in the center, and then these have some clips you can see right back here in the back. Sometimes they are easy to take out, other times they're not. Okay. And this is the one that's not easy. I don't want to pull on that too hard. It should roll right up. It should be able to just go like this and that come off. But this one is being stubborn. Never had that trouble. Okay, so there we go. You just got to kind of just be a little bit rough with it. Okay, well, I may end up, now that I've taken this one apart, this one's a little bit different than the last one that I did. And I didn't actually film the last one. So the coal load is different on this. It's actually cast into the tender. So maybe this one I can use my 28mm speaker. Let me dig that out here. Okay, I've dug that out. Here's the, it's a Soundtraxx speaker. This is the baffle for it. Put that in there like that. Because what I plan to do here, let's kind of go over that a minute. So here's the rear of the tender. I'll keep the light. What I'll end up doing is I'll move the board from the center location because I'll keep the board in there. I won't use the plug. You have to have that to run on DC. So we'll pull the plug out. But then what I'll end up doing, like I said, I'll move this board over this way because to fit all this in, since it is such a small tender, the get this open. The keep alive or current keeper, I'll put it right here on the side, but the way the board is right now, it's too wide, so that's why I got to move the board over. And then with the decoder itself, let me get it out of the package here. So we'll have the decoder itself, and of course off of this I'll use the two purple wires. That's my speaker, but I'll have the decoder setting on edge on that side. So, but I leave this just so I don't have to rewire anything else. And then of course we'll have our other plug, and we'll end up cutting some of that off and just our normal thing. So let me go ahead and and the other thing I do is clean that off. Smaller screwdriver here. Let me remove this screw. But I'll cut these down. I'll leave the weights and everything in there. That'll set over to that side. Either side, it doesn't really matter. Fold that down. If I had enough room, I could probably re-drill that hole. But that'll be in there. That'll give us plenty of room. Looks like, yep. I can keep everything inside. but I do want to cut these down just a little bit. And actually I won't have to with this one since this is made differently. So let me look here and see. I am going to drill a new hole up here in this PCB to move that over, because there's nothing underneath of it. So for right now, let me put, I want to put this screw back in. Make sure I have the right, okay, that'll work. But I want to put this screw in just to hold it. Do this over here to where, I don't know if, yeah, you won't be able to see this. I'll move that over just about 1/8 of an inch. Nice little slow speed. This is the same bit I use for 256 screws to tap them with. So let's pull this out and be able to set that right in there. I do need to cut this back post off because I'm not drilling that hole out back there. So let me see. That'll give me plenty of clearance there on the side. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I've got plenty of clearance here now. Pull this back off. Cut that down. Okay, so there's our board back in. That'll keep everything up nice and neat off of the bottom. Put that back down in here. So now we're ready to start wiring this thing. So what we have is our pickups. Let me pull this back off here just a second. I want to make sure. Okay. So these two are our track pickups, our red and black. And they tie in, I don't want to lose that screw, they tie into this plug, and that's the track pickups on the locomotive. So that's good to go. Then this will be, these should be our lights and motor. And I just need to see which one is which. And I can trace the board back from the light. have this outside one is backup light, and that's probably our common. Or no, this one will be our common. And I can look on the plug too. Yeah, this will be our common. Now let me see. That's this second one here. Let me get out and I'll show you. I'll show you how I know what that is. Let me go get something here. Okay, I found what I was looking for. And this is it. This is just a little chart. And let me turn this overhead light off here. Just throwing a glare. It's just an overhead chart, and it's actually in a piece of plastic because I sometimes buy these plugs. But if you'll notice, there's a number 1 over here and a number 8. Well, I always know, and this is an NMRA standard, that orange is the number 1. So the way that goes is, get something to point with here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 is the way that goes. Let me turn that around here to match this board. So up here you've got the number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or actually 5, 6, 7, 8. I misspoke. Went the wrong way. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got our motor, our backup for the yellow. This one's not used. The left rail, motor, the headlight, that'll be the white wire. There's our blue common, and then our right rail pickup. Now what I can do is I could make up a plug. I could take this plug, solder them individually into those. The other thing I can do is I can take my decoder, cut the wires off, whatever I need, put them down in there and solder each one individually. And I think that's what I'm going to end up doing on this, because I like that method of doing that. I mean, it's up to you. Either way, 6 one, half a dozen the other. But I've done several that way, and they turn out nice. That way you don't have to fool with this board, other than to solder the wires to it. Of course, I guess if I wanted to, I could always take their little pin and solder that in, or I could solder it right to another one. That way we could plug it in. And let me pull one of these out. That way, if they want to go back to DC. But sometimes with space, you can't use this. So that's why I just put them right into that. And I think that's what I'll do here. I'll just put them right into the board itself. So we'll get them all tinned up. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mount that decoder right in there like that. And I'll leave a space for my backup light. You can see the little part in there. The only 2 wires, like I say, off of this side is the speaker wires, the two purple ones. So I'm not going to be able to use this 28mm speaker. Put that away. And sometimes this is just trial and error as to what goes where. It'd be nice if that would fit under that board, but it won't. But like I say, we have plenty of room there. This green, that's a different function. The brown's another function, but I'm not going to use any of that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. And what I do with those, when I get done, I'll take liquid black tape and put on those. I'll stretch them out a little bit with my fingers. That way it covers the wire. But let's go ahead and turn my soldering iron on. And we will start to work wiring this to the board. So let's see. I'm going to take and put a little bit of flux in each one of these. Each one that I'll be using anyway. Like I say, that one there is not used. I'll have to get that out of the way. I won't need this. Let me put this back in the package. And the Keep Alive plugs in. It plugs in right in here. I'll have to remove some of the heat shrink off of that, but we'll show you that here in a little bit. So I'm going to start on this back corner. Actually, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to cut part of this wire off because I don't need all of it. Start with that. Sometimes I can strip this wire with my fingers. Sometimes I can't. Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll start tinning these wires up. And then we'll go ahead and I may put a smaller tip on my soldering iron. Nope, I didn't get it. Okay, so there's one. That's our orange. The next one I'll do is this red one. I think I had enough heat in there. I pulled the flux out or burned it out. Get that down in there. There's our red. Then we'll go with our yellow. Clean the tip off a little bit. Okay. And you do kind of have to watch doing this, because you can, if you have a stray wire, it will, sometimes you can get a short. Come into this from this side. Okay, there's that one. Then we have our blue. Keep your wire stripping down to a minimum just to avoid stray wires. There's the blue. I'm going to turn this around. I can make it a little easier when I do this other side. Put that back in there. So I've got my yellow. Okay, that one, this pin is not used, so we'll move back over here to this side. So let me turn it back around, and I knew I shouldn't have done that. Right beside of my blue is the white. Pull that out from under there. We can avoid a rat's nest. A little bit of flux. We'll trim that off a little bit. That one's a little long. Okay. Make sure flux. Telemarketers. All right, let's get back to, so we've got our blue. Oh. Put our white down in. Okay, there's that. Get some of that out of the way. Now we've got our black. I'm going to put a little more flux on there. And the brown and green will not get used. Let me see if I can kind of get that out of the way. But I want this black one. Okay, that was my other phone. Where am I at? I'm on the black. Some flux on that. Get this tinned up. Okay. Make sure that I have that in the right place. Okay. Now we just have one more to do, our gray wire. I think that's a little on the long side, so I'll cut that off just a touch. Okay. A little more flux there. I'll get that right down in that hole. Plenty of solder. Alright, so there is all of our connections. This is the speaker. So before we do anything else, I do want to cut this heat shrink back. Get it away from the plug. I probably should have done that before I started, but it'll be all right. So there's my current keeper cleared off. And this is going to mount right here on the side of the car, or tender. Or just have one of those days. We'll get that up there like that. Let me get this plugged in. The easiest thing, plug it in the current keeper. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to hook up this speaker, and we'll try it before we assemble it. So okay, we've got a few different components here for the speaker. And I'll use the whole enclosure. So we'll put that there. I'll have this one here. Actually, it doesn't really matter. That'll be like that. Which room do I have? I'm going to leave that little extension off, I think. That'll work better. So I'll have that. We'll have that like that. And then we'll have this up here. That'll be our speaker enclosure. So let me go ahead and I'll glue this together. And I'll use some liquid styrene cement for that. Make sure that's up. That'll wake you up. We'll put that down there like that. Dried off. Let's see. Just want to check something real quick. Okay, now now that that's set up, we'll glue the speaker down. And we want to make sure that we don't get anything on the cone. So there's one side of it. And get both ends. And then I'll get this edge. Okay, that's all that'll take. So we've got our 8-ohm speaker together. That's going to sit. Oh, it's going to sit in. If I can get it flipped over, it'll sit in there like that. I'll put it over to the edge. That way I can put the decoder up in there. Anyway, so let's solder our speaker wires to that. And these speakers right here, they have a clip you can put it in. I don't think that's a very good connection. I've put them in like that before and then run things for a while, and then you'll start to lose your sound. So I always go ahead and solder it in, if that makes sense. Go ahead and tin that side up. Okay, there's that. I'll take and trim that off a little bit. And I will stick it in the clip, and I'm going to pull down my magnifier so I can see that. If you see a bright light there, you'll know what it is. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. Okay, I've got it in there. Oh, you've been staring at my magnifier, but I'll try. But what I'll do, I'll get a better shot of this after a bit. That's a clip right there. Here, maybe I can zoom in on it this way. Okay. This is a clip that you can push that down. It's a spring. And then you slide your wire in, and that's supposed to be your connection. But If you saw that, I just moved that. So I take and I solder that together. Let me pull that out. That'll give me something to hold that with. Put just a touch of flux on that. See if I can get that to focus. It's focused on everything behind it. Okay. Me. Oh. Okay, there we go. Now you can see it. I'm going to put a touch of solder on that. And that will secure that connection in there. Now, I'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. So, get that stripped off. Actually, I want a little more than that. Zoom back out. That some flux on it. Okay, get the flux. Now I just need to get that. Let me zoom in on that. Okay. Oh. If you can see, I can push that in. A little screwdriver here. Push that in, and there becomes a little gap in there. Be nice if I had 3 hands, because they're kind of a pain to get in there. So trim that off. And I'll try to, maybe you'll be able to see this. I believe that is in there, but I want to. There we go. Nope. It is. It went the wrong way. It was touching the case. I need to take that out of there real quick. think that got it. There, I just pulled it back out. Okay. We'll stop fooling with it, but if you can see that, I got the wire in there. So let me that there, just a little bit of flux. Okay. And then I want to put a dab of solder. And this will be ready to test. And there's my solder. Yep. Okay. I know that's blurry, but let me zoom back out now. So the way it sits, we are ready to test this thing out. Put that screw in there. Move some things around, and I'll hook up my DCC, and then we'll try it. Okay, I've moved you around there, and we're getting ready to test this thing out. Let me plug my last connection in here. Well, so far so good. It did come on. I'm not showing any shorts on my power cab here. So let's see if we have any sound. Well, I know we have sound, but there's our bell. And you can see that vibrating around. Of course, with it in the tender, it'll be a little louder. Let's try. I know you won't be able to see it, but I'm going to hit the headlight button. And it does work. You can hear the dynamo come up. Let's try the rear light. Let's see. Let me shove that a little forward there. Yep. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. No, you can't see it. But the rear light's on now. Maybe you can. Yep, okay. So the rear light works. Let's see if we have any motion here. Okay, and we'll have to fool with the CVs a little bit. And of course it is in reverse. So let me change direction. And of course now this is just factory settings, so for right now it looks like everything is working. Turn the headlight on there. We'll get it all put in the case. Alright. There, I pulled the power off. We'll see how long we got there for the keep alive, how long it... Well, that didn't do too bad. That'd get you over a dirty spot. But anyway, let's... I'm going to put all this back into the tender, and then we'll be back. Okay, I just had a successful test, which was right before this little scene here. But anyway, we do know that it works. Now, all we got to do is put everything into the tender, and this job will be done. So let's see. Turn this around. Put this over here real quick. I need to put the speaker in first. Let me get some double-sided tape. Cut my double-sided tape with my shears. So I've got the double-sided tape on there. Make sure that's down. I think I got the corner of that started. Yep. Yeah. Of course I drop it. Now we'll see. Press that in. So there's our speaker. I'm going to put our decoder up as far as I can that way. Another piece of double-sided tape. That on the back of that. Let me move that around to this side. Okay. Move that as far forward as I can. Yeah, actually. So we've got that in there. And that'll go there on that side. Let me get another piece of tape. Tape that right like that. Right to the bottom. And then if we can get this piece off, there it is. So we've got everything tucked in. We'll get our wires tucked in. I'm going to tuck them in under that board what I can. And the rest of that we'll get together. So far, so good. Oh, I taped the I was looking at it upside down and I had it right upside down. Okay. There's probably a lot of you on there watching, thinking you're putting it on the wrong side. Well, I did. See how my board is? So now, I need to move everything. See, mistakes happen. Even need to turn my speaker around. I had everything. At least I didn't have to cut and strip tape this time. And we'll put that up that way. That'll. There we go. Now that I have reworked everything, get our wire in. That in. Latching on. There we go. All together. Got a few little details here to glue back on. And I've got this other ladder in the box. So that's snapped together. Now we'll get our screw here. Put that back in. And okay. Okay, we've got it all back together, and you can hear it still running with the current keeper. We'll get it programmed up, or the CV's changed, and the details back on it. Or at least this ladder back on it anyway. Alright, after I get that done, we'll set it back up on the track and see what we got. Okay, well we've got it here, back here on the test stand. Let me get that kind of a little better there. Okay, that's centered up a little better. But let me turn the sound back on, or plug in the DCC system. Okay. Yeah, I actually had to set to 3 before I realized. Anyway. And these are the factory settings still. So I'm going to go through changing a couple of the CVs to get the Chuff Rate. I think right now we're at 2 exhaust chuffs per revolution. We need to move that up to 4. I may change the horn. I'm going to fool with the volume a little bit, I think. But, and I got to set the address. Alright, let's go through a couple of the CV changes here. I'm going to change the address to the cab number. And I'm using a NCE power cab. So I'm going to program here on the main. And I want to program Loco 3, which it's set at the default address. So to set my address, it's going to be a long address. I'm going to use 1101. Enter that. Alright. So let's see if that... Okay. So our address worked. Now, the other big thing here, I want to set the Chuff Rate, and it is CV 114, So we'll go ahead and change that. The default value on that is 57. So I'm going to go up to, let's interpolate a little bit here. So we've got 57 as the default. That gives me 2 chuffs per revolution. Let's set it to 120 and see what that does. We can go anywhere from a value of 0 to 255, 0 being disabled and 255 being the fastest. So let's try 120. And so let's start up here. I'm a little ahead, I think. So let's go back to CV 114. We had set it at 120. So let's go down to, and let's go to 100. Let's see what that does. I think I'm going to go down just a little more. Go back to programming on the main. Change our CV. We want 114. I think I'm going to go to 95. See what that does. One more time, just a little lower. So go back to our CV, 114. We had 95. I'm going to go with 90. We'll see what that does. Well, I've looked at it so long, I'm not sure. I think that'll work. Yeah, I'm going to hold that right there. So there's our CV 114 with the Chuff Rate. Okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to adjust the volume a little bit, I think. So let's go back to programming on the main. And we'll change our CV. CV 128 is our master volume. And I think it's set at 225 right now as the default. Let me take it up to 255 just to see what happens. Okay, Now, let me go through. I'm going to go to CV129. That is our bell. And its default is 225. Let's go up to 250 with it. We'll try that out. Okay, I'll leave that there. And our bell is at 85. Yeah, I'll leave that alone. So I think the next thing that I'll do is, let's see, I believe it's one of the automatic sounds. Let me look it up here. Alright, now here's another one of the other functions that I like, or one of the CVs that I like to put in. This will automatically blow the whistle when you go forward. It'll blow the whistle, I think it's 3 times forward, twice for reverse, and once when you stop. So we'll program on the main again, and we'll change our CV. The first one is CV407, and it'll be set to a value of 1. Then CV408 will be set to a value of 2. Then CV409 will be set to a value of 12. So you heard it blow the whistle. It stopped, so that's why it blew the whistle. So now we'll start this up in forward. My headlight on. So it's 2 for forward. I always get it mixed up. Alright. So we're stopped. We'll change directions. So we get 3 shorts. I may change that chuff rate again. So we're stopped again. Oh, there's one other thing I want to add. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to change a few other CVs, and this is going to be function mapping. Right now, F5 and F6 are set for the cutoff plus and minus, and I don't like those up there. So I'm going to make F5, I'm going to make that the wheel slip. So the way we'll do that is with CV 287. Well, maybe I'll do this. Well, yeah, okay, let me do this. We'll program on the main CV2, or CV number 287. Well, actually what I want to do, I want to get rid of what's on function 5 right now, and that is CV285. Okay, I'm going to set it to a value of 19. And then I'm going to enter CV287 to a value of 5. And I'll set CV 286, 225, and then CV 312 to value of 6. Okay, now let me go through and we'll hit CV5. Alright, we've started moving. Now when I hit F5, you can hear the wheel slip. Let me do that again. So I like to put that function down there on these steam locomotives. I think that's a really neat effect. Let's see. F6, I made it a blowdown. So when we stop, we can blow down. I think I want to go back and revisit the Chuff Rate again. I don't know if I don't think I'm getting that one quite right. I set it to a value, I think it was of 95. So let me go back into CV114. And we'll go back to 100 here. Let's see where we're at with that. I think that's a little better, but let me go up one more. And that's probably just being particular, but 102. I went up 2. Alright, I'm going to leave that there. Blow down a little bit. Okay. I believe we are done with this little project, so thanks for watching.